My name's Bonobo. We're here in El Rey in Hollywood, California. About 3 weeks into the North Borders tour. We've been doing this live show for a couple of weeks. This is the second of 2 nights in LA, and then we're rolling out to San Diego tomorrow. It's been great. I mean, every night's been sold out, which has been excellent. It's just, doing live versions of this record that I made. It's just sitting, in kind of studio isolation for like 18 months, and now we're sort of taking it on the road. So it's a very different sort of headspace to be in from that kind of long period of studio to being on the road. I mean, it's not been. I mean, I guess the main difference with this record, because I started doing this live show a few years ago, and when I was doing it, there was more live elements in my music, and this record I feel is more electronic, and I've kind of stripped out that kind of live jazzy vibe of the previous stuff a little more. So the challenge really is to sort of see how this can stand as a live show when it's a predominantly electronic record. But I think we've got it. I think it kind of strikes the balance just the right amount of sort of interpreting this with like a whole stage full of musicians. Favorite ones, the West Coast has been good so far. I don't know whether that's we're playing better and subsequently like the vibe of the crowd is better, but particularly like the Northwest, Vancouver, Seattle, Portland was great. Boston was great. Yeah, we've still got a few more to go. But I mean, we've only sort of toured the US so far, and then we're over into Europe in about a week. I guess, I mean, the main thing is I feel like when I made Animal Magic, it was a very sort of low-key record, very lo-fi. I was approaching it from a very simple. I didn't really know much about production, but I think maybe that naivety was what gave it its charm. I just was raiding kind of like basement kind of thrift stores for breaks. Whereas I'm kind of writing music from the ground up and recording and going into real studios and using kind of real instruments. So I think that's the main thing. I think it's expanded, and also the other thing, of course, is just my taste has moved, which everyone's does over 10 years. So I guess I've kind of what I'm into now is very different to what I was into then. So I'm more sort of I think around that time it was very much like Mo Wax, Wall of Sound, DJ Shadow. Portishead was a big record for me when I started out when I was like 19 and living in Brighton. But obviously now listening to a whole different palette of music. So my music reflects that as well. So I can't just make the same down tempo kind of head nodding stuff for forever. Yeah, I mean, at the minute, like Lapalux is really doing it for me. Like everything he does is excellent, I think. Still a lot of stuff, still a lot of the UK stuff. Mount Kimby, obviously, been around for a little while now, but who else? Yeah, there's a few of them, but I think Lapalux is like my dude at the minute. Yeah, I'm seeing a very different crowd to the one that came out 10 years ago. Maybe I was sort of moving a different sort of, a different kind of crowds then. But it used to be, coming from from a club DJ perspective in the UK to coming to the US, particularly when you sort of go on a stage and DJ in front of people who are watching. That was kind of weird to me. But I think now it's kind of that idea that it's more about the music and people are actually kind of coming out to have fun rather than to like watch a dude scratch on a Vestex mixer for 2 hours. So I think that seems to be the vibe. People are having more fun now, which is how it should be. I'd like to hope so. I mean, at the minute it feels this whole EDM explosion or whatever you want to call it, it's if you see these shows, it's like young kids, but in a couple of years, they're going to grow up and they're going to dig a little bit deeper, and they're going to start their own thing, and it's going to be really interesting, and I'm really intrigued to see what happens next with this, because obviously, you know, this is a big wave and it's gonna have to crash soon. But what it leaves behind is going to be really interesting, and I'd love to see what little subcultures and subgenres spring up in the wake of all of this kind of EDM kind of laser fist pumping thing. Maybe it's going to move back into the warehouses and the smaller rooms. I think if you look at a parallel with what happened in Europe, especially with that sort of 90s kind of house and Ibiza thing, and that whole sort of, you know, all those big kind of 90s dudes. I think when that scene kind of crashed, it went into all these little, you know, all these little subgenres, all these little backroom clubs started happening, and people wanted to have a sense of something being theirs. I think when it gets too big and too sort of corporate, then people don't feel like that, you know, they're involved in it. And I think that maybe this is what's going to happen next, is that people are going to want to sort of have some control or have some kind of involvement in the scene and feel like it's their thing rather than something they're just buying into. Yeah, I mean, I'm DJing on this tour as well. I'm doing after parties. I've been playing. You know, I played in Brooklyn, Chicago. I played last night in LA. Some low key ones, but yeah, I'm doing some DJ stuff over the summer. I'm going to be back doing a few little just standalone DJ shows in the US in the summer, and then yeah, I just kind of run the two things parallel. Well, this tour kind of rolls on for months now. It's pretty intense this year, so I'm not going to have a huge amount of time in the studio. But I'm going to be doing. I'm working on a few remixes at the minute, but they're kind of like, you know, working on the back of the tour bus on headphones remixes. But I'm not going to go too bad on the remixes for this album, because I think we did it with the Black Sands thing. I don't want to sort of do another whole load of remixes for a while. I think just kind of maybe a few choice remixes here and there. I don't really have much downtime on the road, but honestly, like, we're all kind of, when we have days off, we try to get them in, you know, out in the wilderness, like out in the woods, and then we'll get bikes and we'll go off into like up the trails and stuff. So that's kind of, when we're not playing a show, I don't want to be in a city or in a club or in a venue. You know, we kind of want to get out. And we had a really good day off, like in Utah. We kind of camped out in the desert for the night, and they had a barbecue and jumped in the lake. And that's kind of, you know, that's in terms of like downtime in this tour, there hasn't really been any yet. But yeah, we're looking forward to some downtime. After this weekend, I think we've got a day off in Solana Beach. Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me. Thanks for coming down.